Though I knew Einstein for 2 or 3 decades, it was only in the last decade of his life that we were close colleagues and something of friends. But I thought that it might be useful, because I am sure that it is not too soon, and for our generation perhaps almost too late, to start to dispel the clouds of myth, and to see the great mountain peak that these clouds hide. As always, the myth has its charms, but the truth is far more beautiful. Later in his life, in connection with his despair over weapons and wars, Einstein said that if he had to live it over again, he would be a plumber. Well, this was a balance of seriousness and jest that no one should now attempt to disturb. Believe me, he had no idea what it was to be a plumber, least of all in the United States, where we have a joke that the typical behavior of this specialist is that he never brings his tools to the scene of the crisis. Einstein brought his tools to his crises. Einstein was a physicist, a natural philosopher, the greatest of our time. Einstein is often blamed or praised or credited with these miserable bombs. It is not, in my opinion, true. The special theory of relativity might not have been beautiful without Einstein, but it would have been a tool for physicists. And by 1932, the experimental evidence for the interconvertibility of matter and energy which he had predicted was overwhelming. The feasibility of doing anything with this in such a massive way was not clear until 7 years later, and then almost by accident. This was not what Einstein really was after. His part was that of creating an intellectual revolution and discovering more than any scientist of our time how profound were the errors made by men before then. He did write a letter to Roosevelt about atomic energy. I think this was in part his agony at the evil of the Nazis, in part not wanting to harm anyone in any way. But I ought to report that that letter had very little effect, and that Einstein himself is really not answerable for all that came later. I believe he so understood it himself.